tonight. McKnight tonight.
Wrong again.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
I've seen that since university.
Funny, insightful, interviews. Put my watch down, do some McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Hello and welcome to McKnight Tonight. I am, of course, Rob McKnight. It is Thursday, the 31st of July, the last day of the month, but also Uncommon Instrument Awareness Day. Uncommon Instrument Awareness Day. Okay, there's one for you. It's also National Avocado Day. So whether you're strumming a theremin, theremin used in Star Trek, or smashing an avo on a toast, we've got the show that hits all the right notes. Coming up tonight, farmers facing jail time in the name of clean energy. A Hollywood actor says he was blacklisted, but the reason why is just, well, it's just bizarre. And a firefighter is punished for calling himself a fireman. I'll explain why this one's got me fired up. Plus, I'll speak to Claire Grant, the New South Wales farmer caught in a political storm over what the government can put on your property. As always, leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube. We read them all, and sometimes I even agree with them. Don't forget, the best place to watch the show is on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@McKnight That's youtube.com/@McKnight Okay, there is a lot to discuss, so let's get into our hot topics. And tonight, explosive allegations shake Australia's childcare sector. Staff from some of the country's biggest operations say serious breaches were covered up and whistleblowers were silenced. G8 and Affinity Education, which run hundreds of centres, are accused of prioritising profits over child safety. In some cases, educators facing abuse allegations were shifted between centres instead of being removed. Victoria's government has launched a review, but critics say it's too little too late and that national reforms are urgently needed. So there's a couple of issues I find with this one. Obviously, the cover-ups in childcare are horrific and we need a full inquiry. It almost needs to be a royal commission. So both sides of Parliament are working on this together, and that fills me with confidence. But what I want to get to is loyalty to a company. So when we work for a company, we're very loyal. I am actually too loyal to the companies I work for. When I'm working for a company, I'm all in. I don't just go in for a paycheck. I go in and I want to do everything I can for that company. But you have to be careful because loyalty these days is not really a two-way street. We're seeing in these economic times, companies are throwing people out on the street willy-nilly. I think for a while there was some sense of loyalty. If you'd done 30 years at a company, they did try to look after you. That's not the case anymore. If you get offered a better job, take it. Because companies are not going to look out for you when budgets are diminishing and they need to make tough calls. So the idea that these workers in these childcare centres were being pressured not to report allegations of abuse, I find it a really hard situation for them. It is easy to say that they should have spoken up, they should have gone to the police. People get scared. People are scared to go up against a business. So I do have some sympathy for them, even though they obviously should have gone to the police. Ultimately, a company is not going to protect you because you stood up for the company. Again, they will protect the company. And that's the environment we live in 2025. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is look after yourself. Be loyal to a company, except when it comes to breaking the law and even morally breaking the law, even when it's not actually breaking the law. Go as far as you can. Go to that line. I've probably crossed the line in some of my promos the way I sold them for a current affair over the years. But ultimately, you cannot do the wrong thing when it's going to be your head on the chopping block. So if you see something, say something. And when it comes to employment, do the right thing for yourself. You owe nothing to anyone.
Here comes McKnight tonight.
All right, let me know your thoughts by leaving a comment in the video section, and I will be very interested to know what you think about this one, because a well-known actor has made a stunning claim saying he has been blacklisted by Hollywood. Neil McDonough is one of those actors you might not know by name, but you've definitely seen him in plenty of films and TV shows. And in 2019, he played Malcolm Beck in Yellowstone. In these politically charged times, it wouldn't be that surprising to find out an actor had been blacklisted for their views. There have been claims of it, but it turns out that's not the case here. Have a listen to what McDonough told the Nothing Left Unsaid podcast.
You know, I'd always had in my contracts that I wouldn't kiss another woman on screen. And my wife didn't have any problem with it. It was me really who had a problem with it. I was like, yeah, I don't want to put you through it. I know we're going to start having kids, and I don't want to put my kids through it. So I decided that I was going to be the villain du jour and be the best villain on the planet. And I think I kind of achieved that, you know, to an extent. Of all the films, I can't tell. I was sitting in the makeup chair about a year ago, and I was getting ready for another death scene, as I always do. And the makeup artist said, guess how many death scenes you've been in? I tallied them up last night. I'm like, oh, I don't know, 25? And she says, no, this is your 63rd. I'm like, that's got to be some kind of record, because they're not like small little background extra deaths. They're always these big villain, bad guy deaths, which I'm very, very proud of. And a lot of people say, well, you kill thousands of people in all of your movies, sometimes millions, and you won't kiss another woman on screen. I'm like, yeah, but you're not really killing anybody, and it's kind of funny on the day when we're doing it. But intimacy is a whole different thing for me. So when I wouldn't do it and they couldn't understand it, Hollywood just completely turned on me, and they wouldn't let me be part of the show anymore. And for 2 years, I couldn't get a job, and I lost everything you could possibly imagine. Not just houses and material things, but your swagger, your cool, who you are, your identity, everything. My identity was an actor, and a really good one. And once you don't have that identity, you're kind of lost in a tailspin. And I was in a big, ugly tailspin for a couple of years.
Now, I'm sorry you went through that. Nobody wants to go through not having work and losing your identity, and I've been there, believe me. But you're an actor, and acting involves a physicality. It involves inhabiting a role, and it involves, for most actors, I would assume at some point, kissing. It is fine for him to demand this clause saying he won't do any kissing scenes. But it's also the right of the producers, the writers, the creators of these shows and movies to say, well, then we have no need for you, because that's a limitation we don't want to accept. Now, this is a very God-focused podcast and chat, and he talks about God and all that kind of stuff. And it's fine. But what changed? Because before this, from things I've read today, he's always had this clause. And in fact, there was one movie that he did recently, or in 2021 or 3, where his wife played his co-star and he did a kissing scene with her. And that became the topic of conversation around that movie, because he did a kissing scene. So I wonder what happened during Yellowstone to get him kicked off. Was it just the lack of kissing? And why did that lead to the rest of Hollywood not wanting him? Because up until that point, he found his niche. He played the roles, he played the villain, he did all those deaths that he talked about. But ultimately, as an actor, you, in any job, moments ago we talked about being jobs and being true to yourself. He's being true to himself, congratulations. But you can't blame Hollywood for deciding you are not what they want, because you have the right to put boundaries on what you will do. But Hollywood and employers have the right to say, well, that's not what we want. This scene involves kissing. This character has a relationship, and part of that relationship is kissing this person. And if you can't meet that expectation, then you have no right being there. Just don't bitch about it, right? If you've been blacklisted because you won't kiss, well, you've got to make a decision. Do I want to continue acting, or will I kiss, or will I live by my morals and what I want to do? It's like people who take a job and then demand the job be changed around them to suit them. No, sometimes you have to fit in. You have to fit into the situation. Strange and crazy, I know. But yeah, sometimes you have to fit in.
Here comes McKnight
Yes, thank you for the reminder. It is Tipsy Thursday, and I haven't mentioned it. Happy Tipsy Thursday, everybody. We wouldn't be doing McKnight tonight on a Thursday without a drink, so I hope you've all got your drink. Take a moment, have a quick one. Oh, a nice wine, a Shiraz there. All right, now it's time for Rob's rant. You'll need a drink for this one. In the UK, a long-serving firefighter has taken his former department to tribunal. He was disciplined for failing to stop his team using the term fireman. Firefighter Simon Bailey, who's 58 years old with almost 3 decades of service, was handed a final written warning and demoted for not stopping colleagues from using what the fire service deemed a sexist word. Bailey says the disciplinary action left him feeling physically sick. His world crashed after receiving the letter. Once decorated as a hero, he ended up resigning in disgust and launching a constructive dismissal claim. Supporters of the change say it's about making the profession more inclusive and, yes, respectful. But where do we draw the line? This is a term that has been used for 150 years. So we've always said firemen. And there are a lot of women in the firefighting force, and they should absolutely be respected. And I do agree with changing the term to firefighter. I 100% agree with that. But there's a couple of things here. One, he's been disciplined for the words used by his team. And it's also, just give it some time. The term will die off because it's these people that have been in the firefighting unit for 30 years who say fireman. It's what they've always done. It is really hard to break habits. Now, I get that he was a team leader and you're having a go at him for not getting down on his team. But imagine a situation like that where a firefighting team relies on working together, being a team. And you have to choose your battles. How far do you go? If someone is absolutely doing the wrong thing, yes, pull them into line. But if it's a term that's been used for 150 years, maybe you cut them a bit of slack, because when you need them to burst through that door when there's a fire and get in there and save a kid's life, you know that you can rely on them. You have to think bigger in terms like this. In 30 years, this won't be an issue. Firefighter will be the only term that anyone's ever known, because people die off, the next generation comes through. The problem is you've got bureaucrats who turn around and say, that term you've been using is sexist, you have to use this one. And they don't allow for transition time, people to get used to it. And that's the problem. We want to evolve as a society. We want progression. But the problem is you have to accept some elements are going to be harder than others. You know, when I first started working, you sort of respected the older people, and, you know, sometimes they were a bit backwards thinking. Like when I was coming up, they'd openly look at boobs and things like that. And even the women who they were looking at just sort of went, oh yeah, he's old, whatever, you know, like I'm not saying they should have accepted it, but we did. And we sort of wrote it off as their attitude of the time they grew up with. There's no consideration for age and how people grew up. The world is very different to what it was 15 years ago, let alone 30 years ago. We have progressed more as a society so quickly, and that's a good thing. But it doesn't mean you have to leave everyone out in the cold as they're trying to catch up. We just need a little bit of compassion for everyone.
It's the random life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Yes, it's the random live shot of the day. I'm wondering where the McKnight Tonight music is. There it is. It threw me. Tonight's random live shot of the day takes us to the beating heart of New York City, Times Square, where it's bright, chaotic, and somehow always midnight. This dazzling stretch of Manhattan wasn't always a tourist magnet, though. In fact, it was originally called Longacre Square until the New York Times moved its headquarters there in 1904, and the name stuck. These days, it's a symbol of global advertising, overexposed selfies, and overpriced hot dogs. Around 330,000 people pass through Times Square every single day. And if you're wondering what it's like out there right now, it's humid. 29 degrees with a warm breeze rolling through the canyons, and it is heading for a high of 29. So we've hit the high at 7. What's the time? 7:15 in the morning. That is 7:15 in the morning there. I was watching it in the hours leading up when I prepped the random live shot of the day. There wasn't much activity happening, but it's all happening. There's the Disney store. Oh, they're promoting Star Trek there. So a lot happening over at New York, at Times Square in New York. Oh. So, yeah, a lot happening, including the advertisement for Disney. This is not a paid advertisement. Change the background, Amanda. Change the background. Let's get some feedback coming through to McKnight tonight. Oh, the feedback's not working. Jasmine, what's going on? Oh, well, I tell you what I'll do. We have the technology. I will go into the view queue here and I'll just read some out. All right. Dylan says, wonder if Rob will announce a McKnight Tonight wine glass to go with that mug. Oh, what a fabulous idea, Dylan. We'll do the McKnight Tonight wine glass and we can all drink wine together. It is Tipsy Thursday. Love that. Spencer Howson says the glasses look good. Thank you, Spencer. Own Your Own Crazy says there is nothing worse than over-emotionally investing in your job. That is so true. Andrew McGrath says on Facebook, I totally agree. There absolutely needs to be stronger protections for those who speak up. I've experienced bullying myself for raising concerns about things that weren't right. It's exhausting and isolating, and no one should have to go through that for doing the right thing. Creating safe spaces to speak truthfully is essential. It's so true, Andrew. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Gareth D says, Neil does look like a killer. Romance roles are a big part of Hollywood. He's lost. Pity he's a drama queen about it. Oh, Amanda, sorry, that was me. I hit the button because I was trying to get rid of the McKnight Tonight logo. Sorry about that. Denny Gillies says, oh my God, what is the world coming to? And that is in regards to the firefighter who basically can't use the term fireman. Justine says, I am all for inclusivity, but he actually can't control what others say. It takes time to change language and break habits. Two nights in a row we've had some gremlins, but if you're on the audio podcast, you won't know what happened there. Spencer says, can we request a very tipsy post Logie's Midnight Special Edition on Sunday night? Amanda is giving me the big no there. We are not doing that. But you know, Spencer, I have been thinking about doing a 24-hour edition of McKnight Tonight to try and break a Guinness World Record. Now, there are radio ones where they play music throughout the 24 hours, but it would just be me talking with possibly 5-minute breaks, the toilet in every hour and everything like that. But what do you think? Should I do a 24-hour edition episode of McKnight Tonight? Yeah, I reckon that... No. So that means we'll be doing it next week, probably. Hey, thanks for your feedback. You are watching McKnight Tonight, and we will get more of your feedback and work out the gremlins, hopefully, soon.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Well, Virgin Australia is pressing ahead with its controversial plan to let pets travel in the cabin, and it could start by the end of the year. That's right, dogs and cats will be allowed on board as long as they stay in an approved pet carrier under the seat in front of you. The Food Safety Regulator has signed off on the necessary code changes, meaning cabin meals can be served even with animals in the aisles. Virgin says it's responding to overwhelming demand, but critics warn of hygiene issues, allergies, and stressed out passengers. This could have been my rant. This is a terrible idea, okay? And I know dog lovers and cat lovers are going to come out and say, what's wrong with it? But you know what? If I am an anti-animal person, and I'm not overly, I just you know, if I touch a pet, I have to wash my hands, okay? I touch one of my pets for a moment and I'm to the sink washing my hands. I don't want an animal sitting next to me. Humans are bad enough. And have you seen how much legroom is underneath the seat? How are they going to find carriers that fit there? That's never going to work. These pets are going to be on their laps. They're going to be trying to lick you. That's the other thing. People with pets who don't read the room when someone doesn't want to be bothered by the pet. And they just go, oh, look at him. He's licking your face. I don't want my face licked. You know, one time in one of my trying to exercise phases, I went for a jog early in the morning around an oval. A guy had let these dogs that were almost as big as horses off the leash, which you weren't supposed to do, but whatever. The dog came at me and went, pfft. Well, and the dog is knocking me over. And do you think the guy called the dog back or apologised? No, he just thought, oh, it's fine. You must like that. No, I bloody don't. One, I'm trying to exercise, last thing I want to be doing. And I've got this horse throwing me over. This reeks of bad ideas. Is there going to be a urine smell? Like, are these animals going to pee on the plane? And what kind of control will be put in place? And as a paying passenger, will I have the option to know where the animal seats are? Now, here's where I could come on board. If the back of the plane is allocated for people with pets, I could go for that. That might be fine. Although the yapping will be bad enough. It's bad enough when babies are crying. I know I sound... People think I'm anti-kids, Amanda. I'm not. I've got 3 beautiful kids. but I've passed that phase of my life. My youngest one is 13 this weekend. So I'm not really in the baby area, you know? So I don't want... Well, kids, I can't keep them off the plane. But if there is an animal designated area at the back of the plane, well, maybe that's okay. All right, let me know what you think by leaving a comment in the comment section of this video. I am getting back to your feedback very shortly. Keep them coming, and especially this next topic because it's one I think might surprise you.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
Wrong again.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight.
I've seen that since university.
Funny, insightful interviews. From a watch to producer. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Well, there's been a startling development in rural Australia where farmers who block the construction of electricity transmission lines on their own property face criminal prosecution. Now, under proposed legislation drafted by governments and major utility companies, these landholders might be fined or even jailed if they enter or work near power infrastructure without permission, even in emergencies. The legislation would facilitate the design and construction of new transmission projects. Claire Grant is a graziers advocate and founder of the Farm Access Alliance. She's leading the fight against punitive laws that she says criminalise necessity and blindside farmers when disaster strikes. Claire, welcome to McKnight Tonight.
Hi, Rob. How you going?
Good, thank you. Why do you believe this legislation is so dangerous for the farming community?
It's so unprecedented, even all through Australia. These laws do not exist, and the VicGrid, AEMO, TCV all have the opportunity to do the right thing, engage properly, plan this properly, but they're not, and they're just changing the laws to suit themselves.
So is that doing the right thing? It's a level of engagement. What is the right thing? What do you think is the right thing?
The right thing to happen would be proper engagement and proper planning. They're rushing it is an understatement. They're absolutely steamrolling this project through. They need to take a breath and have a proper look and get the politics out of it and get a proper plan happening, which there are experts out there who have proper plans in place that could be implemented, but they're just ignoring everybody because it's just a political money-making scheme.
Okay, let me ask you, because the idea, I would assume as a farmer, I own some property, that's my property, no one can do anything with it. But that's not the case. We see fracking happening and now electricity poles demanding to be put on with whether you like it or not. Why don't farmers have control of their own land?
That's a question for the government. Um, we it's not just the farmers' land rights, though, these laws are going to affect. It's everybody's land rights. Yes, we're being targeted for this project right now, but these laws affect everybody, even in the city. They can just walk in whenever they want. I'm sure they wouldn't like it if, someone from one of these government departments just walked into someone else's backyard and just said, "Hi, we're here. We're going to put something in your backyard." That's it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There would be outcry. But let me ask you this. What is the balance between the national good and a farmer's right to control what happens on their property? If there is an electricity grid needed, where's the balance of trying to facilitate that and allow you to have what you need as far as controlling your property?
Proper engagement. This was just sprung on us at the last minute. We had no idea that we were even in the firing line for any of this until the day it was announced. Um, the first people they should have engaged were the landholders, but we were the last ones engaged. They had no interest in speaking to us. They've just drawn a line from Google Maps in the city and said this is where it's going, and they do not care about anything. The environment, biosecurity risks, millions of dollars worth of irrigation infrastructure. They're just steamrolling straight through everything.
Right. Okay. That's an interesting point because I find it weird that you could become a criminal by working near these electricity transmission infrastructure without prior permission. How does that work?
Uh, yeah, so we can't, well, they're trying to change the law, so we can't even say no. We've been towing the line the whole way through with the laws and everything, and as farmers, we try to engage, we try to do the right thing, and somehow we're being made out to be the bad guys, and they just keep shifting the goalposts. Biosecurity is a massive issue in agriculture. And they think that putting these power lines through, it's only going to affect the easement and just a really small percentage of land. But the consequences of when you add it all up and then you add in the turbines, the solar panels, and all the other, and the mining that's going to happen as well to facilitate all this, it's going to take up a large percentage of agriculture in Victoria. And the impacts not only for local food security, but also internationally, because a lot of our produce gets exported as well. So the repercussions of this could be quite extreme. You think the cost of living is high now. Well, when there's not less food production being done, the price of everything's just going to go up, and you're going to get more imported food, like the beef imports that have just been introduced.
Yeah, no doubt. So hang on, you said something in there. So this isn't just electricity poles. It sounds like you're talking about wind turbines, mining you mentioned. How far does this go?
It's really scary, and somehow there's a big wall up around Melbourne in particular, because we're talking about Victoria at the moment. And the city has no idea the extremes that this is actually going to go to. It's not just one power line. It's many power lines, albeit this VNI West being the major. You've got they call them wind farms. They're not farming. They're wind factories. You've got wind factories coming up everywhere. And we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of turbines getting put up. And you see the current ones, and they're babies in comparison to the ones they're proposing. The ones they're proposing to put up everywhere out here, almost 300 metres high. And then
the big word you keep coming to throughout this whole interview is the lack of engagement. And that seems to be the thing that's really riling you up. So it sounds like the Victorian government has handled this all wrong when it comes to farmers.
Absolutely. They should have been engaging us from the start, and they didn't, and they still won't. We're constantly being told this is happening and to get on board. This is not the direct route.
Do you have any health concerns?
And it's through the Premier's electorate.
Sorry, say that again.
There is a direct route for the power line that was originally proposed. We're option 5A. And the most direct route was actually through the Premier's electorate.
And that's not happening now?
No, not since just before the last election. It suddenly got moved and no one knew about it.
Yeah, why doesn't that surprise me? Do you have any health concerns about this kind of equipment? You know, we keep seeing health concerns about big electricity poles and things like that. Are you concerned?
Absolutely. The liabilities in this are extreme. We've got flood irrigation, which this is running through because they're intelligent. And just electricity, water. My partner, when he's going to be out there working in the water under these high voltage electricity lines, is frightening, let alone if you've got staff and any health impacts that they might, incur from working under these. We're the ones that are liable.
Yeah. Well, Claire Grant, it's a fight that you are taking up well, and you're making a lot of noise. So at the very least, the Victorian government needs to engage with you and get outcomes that work for everyone. Thank you for joining us on McKnight Tonight.
Thank you.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of you seem to like the idea of a 24-hour edition of McKnight Tonight. Let's take a look at the feedback that's coming through. We've got Matthew first up, who says, you will have lots of time to get to know your big fans in 24 hours. Yes, Matthew, but will they all stay with me for the whole stream? Over the page we go. Thank you, Jasmine. I'll be part of that 24-hour special, says Spencer Howson, who I have to tell you, Spencer Howson, very big deal up here in Queensland. He was the #1 breakfast announcer for, a decade at least, I'm sure, on ABC. He's been on 4BC. He's a renowned radio broadcaster up here, and a man I admire very much. Own Your Own Crazy says, Amanda says, hard pass. Is that just about the 24-hour live stream? Own Your Own Crazy. Radio Note says only orange snakes on a plane. That's in regards to the pets on a plane. Thank you, Radio Notes. Who else have we got there, Jasmine? Restoration Archive says, what happens when a few dogs on a flight decide they don't like each other? No dog catcher on a plane. Yes. You're speaking my language there, Restoration Archive. Or I should say you're speaking my whoop, 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 whoop. Dylan. I gotta laugh out at Jasmine. As if you're a parent, you know what a big deal it is if your children laugh at one of your jokes. That was my moment. I gotta laugh, and hopefully the mic picked it up. All right, Dylan says, why are these transmission lines not put underground? Look, good question. I think there might be a cost issue involved with that, but I'm not 100% sure. Restoration Archive says, next they will fill your fields with solar panels. They will give you nothing, and if you refuse, they will fine you. And I think that's what Claire is sort of worried about, Restoration Archive. Thank you very much for that. And this from Spencer. Lynn McKnight, bring Amanda and Jazz on air as part of a 24-hour edition. I say Spencer must be replying to my mother, who might have had something to say about the idea of a 24-hour broadcast. So thank you for all your feedback. You know I love it, so keep it coming. I'm still looking... On Your Own Crazy says, I was at a personal appearance by Spencer Howson in my workplace once. The ladies were very taken with him. I'm sure they were. All right, before we go tonight, I reckon we can sit back, relax, turn down the lights. Oh yeah, because it's time for a back-end quickie. And while the federal parliament might be a mood killer, I think you might enjoy this moment from Question Time today, when the Speaker gave some advice to a member of the opposition about a point of order he was about to make.
Well, the Minister did address the question. He was very clear with his response, and within seconds of the direct question he was asked. I fail on earth to see how there could possibly be a question on relevance here when he specifically addressed the question. So I will not take frivolous points of order on relevance. I'm just giving the member fair warning that he was asked a question and he responded directly to it.
My point of order is on relevance, Speaker. And it's a serious point of relevance, right? and I would like some reverence as I deal with that relevance.
Someone doesn't know how to read the room. I swear to God, I would have sat there. I would have gone, what's your point? No point. Carry on. And I would have walked back because you knew you weren't going to get anywhere. Politicians, they won't be told. All right. That brings us to the end of this edition of McKnight Tonight. Thank you for your company on this Thursday. I hope you've had a good Tipsy Thursday, and we will be back on Monday at 9 p.m. when we do it all again. And I guess that, Spencer, will be our post-Logie show. I'll give you my feelings about what happened. I'll be watching on Sunday night. So have a drink. We'll have a drink, and we'll see you on Monday. It's good night from McKnight. Cheers.